welcome everybody to the next podcast, and today we are talking about menopause, a little bit about mindset, and all about Sally and her business. So Sally, do you want to tell us a little bit about the history, where you came from, how you've sort of diverted through to menopause? Just fire away and give us a roundup.
So I still am. I'm a singing teacher. So you might think, what's a singing teacher got to do with menopause? But my first love has always been spirituality and mindset. And I actually experienced quite a lot of anxiety when I was about 37. Mm-hmm. And I kept going to the doctors and they were like, oh, here's some beta blockers. And then I kept getting other symptoms like really bad, quite scary palpitations, IBS, headaches, just feeling really yucky. I knew I wasn't feeling myself. I just got into a long-term relationship as well. So all of my old kind of relationship hopping habits stopped. And, stuff was coming to the surface really. And it wasn't until literally last year I realised that everything that I'd been through, and the weight gain as well, the belly fat, was all to do with perimenopause and being in perimenopause. So just going back a little bit, because I loved spirituality and mindset stuff, I retrained as a hypnotherapist back in 2017, and it really helped with the anxiety side of things, but it wasn't the whole picture. So I knew I had to address something. There was some hormone stuff going on. There was some stress stuff going on. Definitely lifestyle, definitely sleep issues. But, underneath it all, I think was driven by a lot of self-sabotage, not liking myself very much, and fearing myself, thinking I was a fraud and thinking I wasn't capable of what I was doing really. And I was really trying to grow my business. I'd started Inspiring Talks in Brighton, but I just felt like I just didn't feel right. I felt fragmented. I felt all over the place. I didn't feel authentic either. And when I started working on myself with the RTT, the hypnotherapy stuff, I realized that I had a lot of blocks from childhood, a lot of perfectionism stuff, a lot of self-critical. I was being very, very self-critical, and I knew that language had actually come from my father. So there was a lot of deep work that was going on. So the work that I was doing with the hypnotherapy was great, and I was seeing a lot of women like me, but I didn't really get the menopause link until last year when I worked with a health coach. And we worked a lot on burnout and stress. And I had my hormones tested. I did a Dutch test, which is like a dry urine test. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah. It's where they test your hormones after they've been metabolized. So it's quite interesting. And it revealed that my estrogen and progesterone were really low. My testosterone was really low, but my cortisol was really high. And in fact, I was producing an inactive form of cortisol, which basically meant I was burnt out. So I really had to go back and address everything. I mean, just absolutely everything from nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress reduction techniques. So that's when I thought, maybe there's a link here. Maybe there's a link between the menopause stuff and the hypnotherapy stuff as well, the childhood stuff, saying stuff a lot.
So, and your business now, what is it that you do? You help women to readdress that, and they look into not only where they are now, but where they are in menopause, but also their childhood history, experiences, traumatic events, that kind of thing? Is that?
Yeah. So most women come to me with a certain issue, like I'm really overweight, I can't stop eating cakes, I can't sleep, my relationships are just awful, I keep shouting at my husband, we don't have sex anymore, I really want to grow my business, I feel like there's something within me that wants to come out but I can't, I'm scared of going on Facebook, I'm scared of doing public speaking or whatever. So they come with a symptom.
Right.
And then we peel the layers back. So I work under hypnosis, but I also do coaching as well. So RTT is the thing that I do, rapid transformational therapy. And it's like a 2-hour process that's done under hypnosis. And we go back to scenes, memories in their life where they might have picked up a belief that they're not good enough, that they're not important, that they're not significant, that they don't matter, that their voice isn't that important, their opinions, their feelings were never acknowledged. Maybe they felt different. Maybe they felt like they couldn't shine if they had a sibling who, maybe there was sibling rivalry, and for one person to shine, the other person was put down. Whether that was conscious or not. So there's so much that goes on in childhood, because all of our programs and processes are written in childhood. It's like a stamp. Around age 7, our levels of stress, what we can expect, are sort of stamped on us at that age, and then we take that expectation into adulthood. So the interesting thing is that most adults are walking around with children's brains. And unless we really address that, and menopause is the perfect opportunity to address that, because the veil is lifting with the reducing hormones, with the reducing sex hormones, you're getting a revelation of what is really there, what's really under the surface. Because estrogen and progesterone, they're wonderful hormones, but they mask everything. That's why in our 20s and 30s, we don't care. We feel amazing. We're like, got all this va-va-voom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I work with my clients. Really go back to the root, to the core, and then change those beliefs. Because what you learn as a child is probably no longer true for you. And you were probably raised by parents who had a less than perfect upbringing themselves, and who, just didn't really know much better. And that's a sad fact. But when you become an adult, especially when you hit menopause, you're ready to discard all of that, and you're ready to live life on your own terms. You're ready to be autonomous, independent. You want to flourish. You want to feel better. Let's face it. I mean, it's not very nice, isn't it, when those sex hormones start declining? It's not a very nice feeling, and we want to feel better. And this is one of the ways that we can do that. And of course, by addressing the childhood wounds, the clients realize that they have so much power. Yeah. And then the self-sabotage stops. Because you know, it's in the eating the cake, drinking the wine, not doing the exercise, staying really small, staying really safe. That's comfortable. That's the self-sabotaging zone. And your mind will always try to bring you back into that comfort zone. So you've got to be very astute to recognize when that's happening. But I think the thing with RTT is it helps that happen more, it stops that sabotaging process much more automatically than if you're just trying to do it using willpower. Okay. Does that make sense?
What is RTT? So for somebody who doesn't really know much about hypnotherapy, what's it stand for?
So it stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. Okay. And it's sort of a combination between psychotherapy and bog standard positive suggestion therapy. So if you go and see a standard hypnotherapist, you will have a consultation with them, and then they'll pop you in hypnosis and they'll read a script to you, probably based on some of the things that you've told them, but could be generic. It's just positive suggestion therapy, whereas RTT, we do like mental excavations. We have a real deep look under hypnosis. So you'll be reclining. Mm-hmm. We can do it via Zoom. Obviously, everything's done via Zoom, but most of my clients are done via Zoom now. Mm-hmm. And you get to relax, and you get to go into hypnosis, and you regress, you go back to childhood. And under hypnosis, you can still talk. Not like you're paralyzed. A lot of people think that when you're hypnotized, you've got no awareness of what's going on, but you do. It's a bit like watching a film, being really, really engrossed in that film, you can hear that the doorbell's rung or the kettle's boiled, but you're just not that interested in it. You're much more interested in what's going on in front of you. So it's quite fascinating. And when you're in hypnosis, the link between your mind and your body is much more open. So the reason it's so powerful is because we work with the emotions rather than logic.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of our habits are driven by emotions. I know that sugar, for example, it's an emotional thing. It makes us feel soothed. So we can't really change it by just logicking the problem away. We actually have to go a bit deeper into the emotion. And when you're relaxed and under hypnosis, your emotions are much more wide open. Okay. So it's quite fascinating.
And what's the typical, I mean, everybody's so different, aren't they? So each journey is going to be very different. But do people work with you long term? Is this a weekly process, a monthly process? How does that work?
Most people need one session. It's really quite powerful. So I do one session, and then they have 2 follow-up coaching calls, including WhatsApp support. So we do WhatsApping to make sure they're okay. And they also get a recording to listen to. So I create a personalised recording for them to listen to for 30 days after their treatment. And that rewires the mindset. So what you focus on grows. So the more you focus on the language and the pictures of what you want, which is in the recording, then that's going to install. It's a bit like changing a computer program, but it just takes a little bit longer with the mind. So one session is usually all that's required, but in some cases 2 or 3 sessions are needed, especially if that person's not done any work on themselves before, or if they come with multiple issues. Maybe they've got like body dysmorphia or OCD or an eating disorder. That could, something like that can be quite sticky. So they need a little bit more than just one treatment.
Okay, it's really interesting. So if somebody was open to looking at what you're doing, how would they get in touch with you? What would be the first step?
So I've got a website, which is sallygarozzo.com. I'm very active on Facebook. I've got a Facebook group called the Menopause Mindset. So do a Facebook Live in there every Monday. And I've also got a podcast called the Menopause Mindset.
Okay,
and
great.
That's the main focus, is mindset, obviously. The clue's in the name.
And I know that you're working on Zoom a lot at the moment, but do you, I presume when the lockdown is lifted, do you see clients one-to-one at their homes, or do you have a practice? How does it work?
I work from home, so I do see clients in my home. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if they wanted to get a hold of you, do you have an Instagram handle as well?
Yeah, it's Sally Garozzo, Mind Mentor.
Fantastic. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I'm sure the ladies out there will endeavour to get in touch at some point. Thanks, Sally.
Thanks so much.